All right, so chemistry is the study of matter and the changes it undergoes. Now, hopefully, you used some of your background skills from what you've already learned and what you already know when organizing the sort. Um, Unfortunately, since I'm not here today, I'm not going to be able to go through that with you. So, what I decided to do was record this video and actually use one of your other classes or one of my other classes, some of your peers' data, and go through what I did with them so that at least you can see kind of what their thinking was and see if it matches your own. Okay. So what do you think matter is? If you're watching this video, it's under the assumption that you guys have already submitted your definition of matter based on what you think it is. So now we're going to go through this. Okay, so here's the list of things we had. The first one is batteries, and again, I'm going to go through the list as I did with one of the other classes and just organize it how they had it organized. Okay, so what I did was I asked the whole class what they thought each item belonged or where each item belonged. If everyone agreed, we placed that item there. If there was anybody that didn't agree, then we put it in the unsure column to be addressed later. Okay? So the first one, batteries. Everyone agreed that batteries was matter. DNA, we had some conflict, so we put it in unsure. Sound, again, we had conflict, so it went unsure. Next, we had heat. And heat went under not matter. And we had a little bit of discussion about it, and we learned that heat is a form of energy, and energy was not matter. Next, we had helium, and we weren't sure. Clouds, we weren't sure. So hopefully as you're watching this video, you're checking your own sort and seeing if you agree with how these are being sorted, or if you yourself are disagreeing or you're not sure how it goes. Electricity, we're unsure. Bacteria was matter. Car exhaust, unsure. Fear, not matter. And wind, unsure. Wisdom, not matter. And then dust was matter. And then hopefully you guys all put atoms under matter, as chemistry is the study of matter, and our very first project was all about atoms. And then fire we placed under unsure as well. Okay? And then what I did is I asked each group what their definition of matter that they submitted was, and all the groups had different definitions, but most of them had certain things in common, such as they take up space, or we can touch it, it's tangible, solid, liquid, or gas. Okay? So now what we did is we went through each of the ones that we did rank to make sure it followed along with those definitions. So I'm going to stick with the takes up space because that was the most common one. Batteries, do they take up space? Most definitely. Bacteria, it does take up space, even if we can't see it. It's maybe not a lot of space unless it's a lot of bacteria all together. Dust definitely takes up space. And I don't know if you guys know this, but dust is mostly composed of dead skin cells, so think about that next time you're cleaning up dust bunnies. And then, of course, atoms definitely make up space, because remember, you never trust an atom. It makes up everything. All right, then we went over to the not matter. Heat does not take up space, and again, this is where we discussed that heat is a form of energy, and energy was not matter. Fear, although some may argue that it takes up space in our mind, it does not actually physically take up space. And then wisdom also does not take up space. So then we hit the unsure column and tried to see if these other things would take up space and put them in matter, or if they do not take up space and we put them in not matter. Okay. So the first one on the unsure was DNA. Now we have to remember that DNA is the blueprint of our lives. They're in all of our living cells. They're what makes us us. Okay, so DNA is definitely matter. It definitely takes up space. Sound. Decided sound does not take up space. Therefore, it is not matter. Okay. Helium was a little bit of a tricky one. Some people weren't sure because, well, they know helium is a gas, but do gases actually take up space? And so you have to remember that, yeah, if I trap gas in a balloon, then it's taking up the space of the balloon. So definitely helium is matter. And then another thing, it's number 2 on the periodic table of elements. All those elements are definitely matter. Okay. Next was clouds. And so I had some questions about clouds. Like, did you know clouds is mostly comprised of H2O, which is water, in the gas form? So hopefully you guys know that water takes up space. Clouds do also take up space. Clouds are matter. And then we had electricity, and one of the students did recognize, well, electricity is a form of energy, and since heat is energy and energy is not matter, therefore electricity is not matter. Car exhaust. It's that gross gas that comes out of dirty cars, polluting up the earth. Okay, but the key there is that it is a gas, just like helium. And because of that, it does take up space. So we're going to mark that as matter. Wind was a tricky one. Okay, so a lot of people were arguing, well, wind is air, and air is a gas, therefore it's matter. Okay, so what you have to keep in mind is, can we capture wind? Well, yeah, we get a trash bag outside, we're on a windy day, and we capture wind. But are we actually capturing wind? Or are we capturing air? It's air that we're capturing. Okay? What wind actually is moving air. Okay? If the air did not exist, we could not have wind. So wind is actually the movement of matter. It involves matter 100% because, again, if air didn't exist, if air wasn't there, there could be no wind. But wind itself is not matter. It involves matter, air, but it itself is not matter. It is merely the movement of matter. And last but not least, fire. Fire is actually still debatable among scientists. Some scientists believe that yes, fire is matter. Other scientists believe no, fire is not matter. And so there is still debate in the science community about fire. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to leave fire in the unsure column because this one is still debatable among scientists. And I'm going to let you guys decide where you want to put it as long as you can defend your stance as to whether fire is matter or not matter. Okay? So check your sort, see if you agree or disagree. If you have any questions or concerns, definitely jot those down so the next time we meet, you can ask me. One last thing. The actual textbook definition of matter, I do want to make sure you guys understand it, is, let's see if I can type, perfect. Definitely what you guys or what your peers had said was that matter is anything that takes up space. But there's a more scientific term that we're going to use. Hint, hint, could be used in your news report since it's vocabulary. And you guys already know this word, but it's volume. Okay. If something has volume, it means it takes up space, it is matter. Now the other thing, because there's two parts actually to what makes matter matter. The other thing is that it has mass. So if it takes up space, if it has volume, and it has mass, it's considered matter. Now some of you might be asking, well, what is mass? And if you weren't asking it, well then I'm asking you, what is mass? A lot of people think mass is the exact same as weight, and they're close but not quite. Weight and mass are very similar but not exactly the same, and if you want to learn the difference, there is a video that you may watch on the difference between mass and weight. But I did want you guys to know it is similar to weight. Okay? So then some people are thinking, well, does gas have weight? How would we find the mass of a gas? And I'm going to go back to that balloon example. If we capture gas in a balloon, it takes up the space of the balloon, the volume of the balloon. We can do the same thing with an empty balloon, find the mass of it, fill it with air or gas, whatever gas, find the mass again, and the mass will increase. Okay, we subtract out the mass of the balloon that we originally took, and we'll get just the mass of the gas. Won't be crazy a lot, but it will definitely have mass. Okay, so again, anything that has volume and has mass is considered matter.